How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from SpongeBob 1000, and I hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving. As today, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to winter weather in the United States. Of course, we're gonna have several different disturbances that could bring over a foot of snow in many areas along the west coast, as well as maybe potentially major snow in portions of the Midwest, as well as areas as far south as Texas. And we also have the possibility of major Arctic blasts moving through the western half of the United States by next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. So take a look at how the weather is for this Thanksgiving. We do see that for the most part, it's relatively quiet throughout the United States. We do have some instability right around the middle of the country right now, and that's what's creating a lot of convection towards the southeast, where we're seeing some thunderstorm activity. So if you're around this area, it might not be a good idea to go outside this Thanksgiving, but it isn't necessarily anything major, or as the thunderstorms embedded with this rain band aren't necessarily severe, so it shouldn't be much of a worry. And initially, like, we were talking about the possibility of a nor'easter potentially developing off the northeast coast. It seems unlikely at this point, as it seems like the jet stream dip wasn't as steep as initially expected, so there isn't necessarily major to be concerned about, at least for this Thanksgiving and at least within the very near future. However, the western portion of Texas and of course the eastern portion of New Mexico needs to pay attention to potentially major snow that's headed your way, which is likely to happen at this time, as the snow is already starting for portions of New Mexico, and it's only going to move further southwestward. And the thing is, with this low pressure system, like I said in my previous video, the steering currents are very slow, so it's going to stay over the same area for at least several days, which will of course enhance the total amount of snowfall accumulation you receive right around the southeastern portion of New Mexico and the western portion of Texas, as we just see the snow linger over the same area for hours. And while this storm isn't necessarily extremely strong, it's going to stay, the fact that it's going to just stay over the same area for potentially days on end will make this storm very significant when it comes to snowfall accumulation for western Texas. And eventually it will begin to strengthen as this heads further eastward and encounters more instability, and we could even see some snow right around the northern portion of the Midwest, including Wisconsin and Michigan. However, it does seem like it's likely going to be very significant for you guys, as there isn't enough cold air, and this storm is going to move relatively fast by the time this approaches the northeast, so it won't really have a lot of time to dump a lot of snow, so it won't be much of an issue. Taking a look further westward, however, we're going to have a multitude of troughs coming off the Pacific Northwest coast, which of course will bring a lot of snow to the higher elevations of the Cascade Mountains, as well as the Rocky Mountain ranges, as well as Sierra Mountain ranges in California, where we're going to see a lot of cold air behind this as well, as it seems pretty certain at this point you're going to see snow in the higher elevations. So if you're hoping to go skiing right along the west coast, if you're very close to the higher elevations, this might be a good time to go, since there's going to be a multitude of troughs coming off the Pacific Northwest, which is typical for what we see during a La Nina. So pay close attention to that, and we will eventually see the snow extend as far south as Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming, and this could lead to our next major winter storm that could be centered right around the Midwest, where portions of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Minnesota could get involved with some heavy snowfall associated with the storm. We see the pressure drop down to 991 millibars, so it's at least a formidable low pressure system, and it's capable enough of dumping a heavy amount of snow over a widespread area. So it's going to be certainly something we're going to need to pay close attention to. However, with the GFS model isn't necessarily very confident that we're going to see a Midwest snowstorm by next week, because we do see that while the GFS model does forecast that a low pressure system will come off the Pacific Northwest coast and bring snow to much of the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains, as well as the Cascade Mountain ranges, we do see that there isn't a lot of snow by the time this approaches the Midwest, as this could be due in part due to the lack of instability. The GFS model expects as the slow pressure system continues to move eastward, and it expects the slow pressure system to be much weaker as this continues to move eastward, where we do see the pressure is hovering more around the higher 990s rather than the lower 990s we see in the European model, and we don't really see the strength much. We do see some snow right around Minnesota and Wisconsin, but it's nowhere near as widespread, and the snowfall accumulation isn't anywhere near as heavy as what the European model is forecasting. So we're going to need to pay close attention to that over the next several days. That will take several days to really determine how certain this Midwest snowstorm will be, because we need to first see how strong the slow pressure system will be as it approaches the Pacific Northwest before we can make a reasonable conclusion on how much snow you should receive right around the Midwest. But as of right now, the European model is expecting a large area of 3 to 6 inches and potentially over 6 inches of snow, 6 to 10 inches right around the northern portion of Minnesota and Wisconsin, while the GFS model is more lenient on bringing little to no snow right around Nebraska and South Dakota, maybe around an inch of snow, and then maybe 1 to 3 inches right around the northern portion of Minnesota and Wisconsin. So there's still uncertainty regarding how heavy the snow will exactly be, but I'll keep you guys updated once we do receive more updates. Again, what will determine this is the strength at which the slow pressure system moves ashore by the time it reaches the Pacific Northwest. So I'll keep you guys updated once we do get more certainty with the forecast. But what I can say for certain is that the West Coast, much of the West Coast, at least the higher elevations, will receive a heavy amount of snowfall, as some areas could receive well over a foot and potentially 2 feet if we were to take a look at the forecasted snowfall accumulation based on what the GFS model is stating, which suggests that 1 inch of precipitable rainfall equates to 10 inches of snow. That isn't always the case, but it should at least bring the snow accumulation forecast around the ballpark. And you see that much of the Cascade Mountain regions experiences feet of snow over the next 5 days, which is, of course, very significant. And we even see over a foot of snow right around the northern portion of Idaho, and we see the snow extend to Colorado as well, and a large portion of Wyoming. And if I were to continue to move even more forward, we could potentially see heavy snow around the higher elevations of California as well, where the Sierra Mountain region is experiencing over a foot of snow as well, and in some areas close to 2 feet. So that's something to keep in mind over the next several days. Now, taking a look at the Midwest, we do see that GFS model is expecting mainly right around 1 to 3 inches of snow, and you see that Nebraska and South Dakota is only experiencing maybe around an inch of snow, not really much. But compare that to the European model, we do see that the European model wants to bring around 3 to 6 inches of snow over a large area and 6 to 12 inches right around Minnesota and Wisconsin. So high uncertainty, but I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days when it comes to snowfall. And now let's take a look at the temperature anomalies over the next several days, because of course, along with these snowstorms and these low pressure systems coming ashore, we're bound to experience more significant jet stream dips and cold air moving in to the United States. So if we were to take a look at that, you're going to see that let me go to the GFS model. You're going to see that temperatures are going to be much below average throughout the western half of the United States. If we were to take a look at the temperature anomaly over the next several days, right around the 850 millibar point of the atmosphere, which is considered the lower levels, we do see that along with these troughs, especially this next potential Midwest snowstorm, we're going to see temperature is well below average, hovering around 10 to 20 degrees below average. And however, over the next several days, we do see that it's expected to be much warmer than average, especially for the eastern half of the United States, which is a relief, because I know for a lot of the eastern half of the United States, it's been very cold and well below average over the past several days. But we should see a little bit of a pretty big warm up as a result of a big jet stream bump right around the eastern half of the United States. So that's something to look forward to if you're not necessarily a fan of the cold. But we do see that it's expected to end by next week's time frame. So keep that in mind. By the midweek, we should see those cold temperatures come back right around the Midwest and the West Coast. Now, taking a look at the North Atlantic Oscillation, we do see that the forecast is that we're going to hover around the negative phase over the next month. So that could mean that there could be a higher chance of snowstorms over the next month for the United States, since a negative North Atlantic Oscillation typically brings more significant jet stream dips. So that should bring more cold air and snow into the United States if this forecast were correct. So we could potentially be in for a rough December when it comes to cold and snow. Now, taking a look at my forecast when it comes to the next few snowstorms. So in my previous video, it was still a little bit too uncertain for me to make my forecast regarding how much snow you should expect. But as of right now for the Midwest, I'm expecting a large area of 1 to 3 inches. This could, of course, increase or decrease. We're going to need to see which one will be, which of the two main computer models will be the correct one. Maybe the European model might be correct, which would, of course, enhance the snowfall for a lot of the Midwest, where you would experience 3 to 6 inches more likely and potentially more, as opposed to maybe the 1 to 3 inches the GFS model is leaning towards more. But just to keep it safe between what the GFS and a European model is stating, I'm forecasting right around 1 to 3 inches for a large portion of the Midwest, but it is subject to change. 3 to 6 inches just to the northeast of that, and we do see that in the higher elevations expect very heavy snowfall, especially in the Cascade mountain region, and extending for a large portion of the Rocky Mountains as well. And then in some portion of Texas, you could experience over 6 inches of snow as a result of how prolonged the snow will be over the western portion of Texas. So make sure to keep a close eye on that. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys all enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm super thankful for all the support you guys have given me over the past 2 years that I've been consistently doing this, as you guys motivate me to do this every day, as I'm extremely thankful for all the support you guys give me, and that I'm able to do this for you guys, and I'm able to help you guys with my forecast. So I'm very thankful for your support, and I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving and holiday season, and thank you guys for watching.